Okay, dearly beloved, now we're getting to business. January 7th, first Magic Mind of the year. Um, I I gave myself just a full 16 days to unplug from the matrix, and uh, anytime I had thoughts, visions, ideas, uh, I just wrote them down and I just let them go. I even usually I'll spend a full day over my holidays just mapping out my plan. But I was on Sunday, just got home from a trip with the family, and I was in my sauna and I was like, okay, I should probably start figuring this shit out for the year ahead and mapping things out and taking all my notes that I just randomly blotted down over the holidays and make my map. And I was like, actually, you should just enjoy your last 3 hours of holidays before you go to bed, and you can figure all this stuff out this week. So that was a really nice permission slip from myself that usually I don't grant myself. So I'm still just kind of plugging into my own plan. I've got a bunch of loose ideas. I've got a lot of balls in the air for Magic Kids, for Chi Ball, and for Magic Media and everything that's going to be happening inside the community space here. But as far as like the solid concrete, this is what's happened the next 3 to 6 months. It's still loose and not quite fully grounded down in reality, which is actually kind of nice. It gives me a little bit more time to contemplate what I really want this year, and also some of what we're going to be doing today on what is the mountain that we're anticipating or wanting to climb. Specifically, because I know this is a topic that lots of people like to avoid, the money conversation. M- Figuring out how much money we would like to generate this year through our services, programs, trainings, etc., and then gaining a better understanding of where that money can flow from and how we're going to direct channels to be able to pay us that money through signature workshops and other marketing efforts. It can really set us up to have real expectations around what's possible this year based on what we've already put in motion and what we're going to need to put in motion to meet some of those financial goals. I always create loose financial goals, so it's kind of like a target off in the distance, and it's more money than we generated last year. I always try increase the bar and see, because this is just a game. It's all just a game that we're playing here. Obviously, there's there's real life consequences, but ultimately, figuring out how much money we want to make and how we're going to make that money, it's just a game that we get to play as creators, as magic makers here. And so, I've got a list of questions. You're going to want to open a journaling page or a document to map out some of these questions that we're going to go through in just a moment. I've already gone through these. This is one of the little pieces that I did do over the holidays was map out my goals. Um, for Magic Media, which encompasses Magic Kids, Chi Ball, everything I do at Magic Media with coaching and programs and trainings and partnerships and all that sort of stuff. Last year, I think was one of our it might have been our best year. I haven't, we get our year-end stuff at the end of January is our year end, but I think we'll be over the $500,000 mark for Magic Media, which is fun. And so this year, I am working on a goal that's gonna get us upwards to the $1 million mark, which is a fun kind of thing to do, given all the different balls we have in the air right now with Magic Media, Magic Kids, Play Chi Ball. Um, I got really lit up and just felt like 2025 is the year to harvest. This is a harvest year. Infrastructure is in place. I think a lot of you put a lot of new infrastructure in place last year, which means if that's the case, it's a harvest year. There's building years. And 2 years ago for me, it was hell. It was a building year. We're building all new infrastructure, all new systems, building a team. Money was not flowing for, especially with Magic Kids, money was just like bleeding out of the bank accounts. And that was a building year. And building years can be really, really hard because you're not getting the return on your investment. Last year, I put a lot of stuff in place, especially the last 2 years. And so for us, it's like this is the tis the season to make money. Fa la 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 la. And I am very hopeful for all of you that this can be a harvest year for you as well. Um, and so with the questions that we're going to go through right now, um, you want to feel into what feels good, what feels realistically, what feels like a stretch, because there's going to be how you're currently able to generate money. So maybe you have coaching, maybe you have programs, maybe you've got a flagship training or something like that. And those are ways that you can actively receive money right now. But there might also be some ideas floating around in your head for things that you want to create, offerings that don't yet exist, but you're inspired to create. And that's what this space is for the Magic Mind, is this is a place for you to get support to take those ideas and turn them into real things that can generate money. And I have built an entire career for 20 plus years now of having ideas, taking action on the ideas, turning the ideas into money generating things, and then just rinse and repeat. And some of those ideas work out fantastically, and other ideas become a flop, but they become great lessons that lead me to the next thing that I launch. And so I want to encourage everybody to um, be brave, be creative, think outside of the boxes that perhaps you might confine yourself into. And just let's imagine what is possible for you, your business, your life's work, and the finances that can flow to you. So now we're going to get to the journaling part of this. So, um, the first question is if you were to write down a dollar amount of how much revenue you want to generate this year, what's that look like for you? Put down a dollar mark. And I would encourage you to stretch it more than what you had last year. So, what is the dollar amount? And my guess is you're probably, if let's just say whatever you made last year through your services, and you might be, some of you I know are newer and you didn't make a lot of money last year because it was you're laying the foundation year, which is fine. But if you have been in business, then it might be you might aim for a goal that's like 20 to 50% more than what you generated last year. Chances are, I know my 21-year-old self always did like, I'm gonna 10x my revenue this year. And that would just create so much anxiety and stress because it just wasn't realistic. Because in order to 10x what you're doing, you have to have some scalable systems to do so. Um, and so, what is the number? Write the number down. Um, and once you have that number, I'll give you another moment to write down whatever that number is. Tara asked, what's a good goal if I haven't really made any money yet? Well, I would suggest look at what your needs are. How much money do you need to make to live the lifestyle that you want to be living, to draw a salary? Um, so look at the needs, and then ideally, you want to surpass the needs. You want to have more money coming in from the work that you're doing than what's going out. So you can have savings, so you can ultimately, like for my entire career, I've always just reinvested everything. I'll just reinvest back into what I'm building, into my next idea. Um, and so you always want to be making more money so you can keep reinvesting, hiring, building the thing that you're building. So uh, find a number that feels good. And then whatever that number is for the year, divide that by 12. How much is that per month? What is the number per month that you're looking to actually generate? Because what we want to do is put things into perspective. We want to make it feel like the dream or the goal is actually doable. Because it's easy to throw a number. I was like, I'm going to make $100,000 this year. It's like, okay, well, now we got to break that down. So if it was $100,000, if that was the goal, I'm not saying it is for anybody, but then you got to break that down and divide it by 12, and you're looking at 8,300 a month. So then we have to figure out, we have to reverse engineer that. How do we actually generate that based on what we're doing? So next question is, what are you selling? what is it? What do you have available to sell? So, what are your coaching packages? Uh, do you have trainings? Do you have any group programs? Are you trying to tour as a speaker this year and teach more in-person workshops? So make a list of all the ways that you can currently make money right now in this moment if people came to you and they asked you how they could pay you money. This does not include the ideas that are in your head that you might act upon. So just make your list. And beside the things that you have there, how much money do you charge for those things? So if it's one-off coaching sessions or if it's coaching programs, so take a couple minutes. And if you finish writing that down, then you're going to write what are what are some other offerings that do not yet exist that have been swirling around in your mind that you're excited to create and put into action this year. So a couple new things that I'm going to be doing this year. Um, One is Get Shit Done Magic Mind retreats. We're going to do at least two retreats this year, one in March, one probably in June or July, and probably one in the fall. So that's a new revenue stream. With Magic Kids, we have 7 new strategic partnerships, licensing partnerships that are now going to be generating money monthly and quarterly for us that are just like new opportunities. So we're going to be searching for more opportunities like that. So maybe it's creating licensing partnerships for your audio library that can then start to generate revenue. Maybe it's creating a flagship training, coaching program, membership. Um, there's so many different things that you could do to generate revenue, and we can brainstorm if you're not clear once we get through these questions. But what are some new offerings? Come up with at least one new thing that you're going to be doing this year. And how much are you guessing you'll charge? It's just a guess right now. Throw a dollar amount on that new offering that you're thinking. Everybody got at least a couple things that you're gonna be channels that you can make money from? Okay. So now comes for the little bit of math. How many of those things do you need to sell to hit that mark? So you could draw a pie. Let's just say you had 3 different things that you're selling. One of them is a one-to-one coaching session package, and let's just call it $1,000. One of them, you have your own prices. This is just an example. Let's say one of them is one-to-one coaching, another one's a group program that you launch every 3 months, and the other one is like a in-person mini retreat that you do for a weekend. So let's pretend you decide that 50% of your revenue this year is going to come from your one-to-one coaching packages, 30% is going to come from your group coaching, and then 20% is going to come from your retreat. So then you would just take your year-end number and you would divide it up based on 50% of the revenue is going to come from this one-to-one coaching. So you could break it down into how many of that package you need to sell. And then same thing, 30% times the number, the $100,000 or whatever it is that you're intending to do. You would times that, and then that would give you, you could break down the number of actual group coaching packages you would need to sell. And the same goes how many retreat spots you'd have to sell. So do a little bit of math around the offerings based on your goal. And then you can start to get some realistic stats of like, oh shit, I only need 20 coaching clients this year to hit the mark, or I only need 25 people to sign up for my group coaching program, or whatever it might be. How many items do you need to sell based on what you've written down? That is the question.
Hi, Bradley. Can I ask a question in
For sure.
this?
Yeah, go for it.
For me, this is also where I'm already quite stuck. So, how I'm going to price this, I haven't really, I haven't really got much idea at all of this at the moment. So, this is something I really want to start trying to unpack and
Yeah.
with some figures. So, this is a big reason, why I'll be doing all of this with you.
Amazing. I mean, for now, you can do a best guess. So you can look at what other people charge in your line of work. You can look at what you feel the value is for the packages that you're offering. Uh, for folks, I don't recommend offering one-off coaching sessions if you can help it. And if you do, you charge a significant higher rate than what you would be charging if you're selling, say, a package, because ultimately as mountain guides, we can't get people to the top of the mountain in one session. We need to work with them for a period of time to help them get the results that they're trying to get. And so you want to figure out um, what that package looks like, how long it would be, what you're offering, what the result looks like, and then what is the value to associate with that based on who you're intending to serve. If you're working with low income people versus people that have steady income and they have disposable income, you're looking at different price points ultimately of who you're trying to serve and what you could charge for your packages. So at this stage, with this, it's all a guessing game. Nothing's meant to be like this is concrete. It's just meant to be a guess so that we can estimate what we need to put into motion to reach the goal that we're trying to get to. Make sense?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So take another couple minutes of doing this little bit of math. How many do you need to sell? Okay. And then the next question is how will you sell that many? So, how will you sell that many? What are your marketing strategies that you're going to be consistent with this year? Obviously, my biggest recommendation is everybody has a signature workshop. I would also encourage everybody to create a podcast so that you can share your voice. If you listen to podcasts and you enjoy podcasts, you should have a podcast. It's a great way. If people don't want to have you come host a convers or come teach your signature workshop, and this has been a new strategy we implemented starting beginning of December, as we reached out to a bunch of people with much larger lists to approach about my signature workshop. We shifted the strategy a little bit because they were bigger players. And we didn't hear from them the first time around asking about my signature workshop. So we followed up and said, "Hey, listen, we'd love to build a relationship with you. Will you come on my podcast?" And all of a sudden, we started booking all these different people for my podcast for January and February. And once I have those relationships built and we do the podcast, it's their email I now have connected to because it was them that registered for the podcast episode. And so then I can follow up and be like, that was a really fun conversation. I have this workshop. Would you be open to me coming to teach it to your audience? So that's a new strategy I just figured out in December. So if you have a podcast, and one of our clients at Sing to Thrive, Julia, she and her daughter launched their podcast, and they're getting all these big named sound healers and music folks that do like music for healing that are coming on their podcast now, and they're starting to develop all these relationships. They've got a Scotland retreat coming up this year because of one podcast interview that they brought somebody onto their show. So it's just a great way for you to practice your point of view and to have interesting conversations with the kinds of people that you'd want to go out for coffee with and hang out with. So those would be two marketing strategies that, without talking about it with all you, it would be wise. Because if you're doing articles, doing the voice version of an article just simply increases the number of people who might actually consume what you're putting out in your newsletter. And it doesn't take a whole lot of extra time. Um, so again, writing down what are your marketing strategies that you are going to be consistent with this year? And do any of those marketing strategies have to do with you being out in the real world, meeting other humans in the third and fourth dimension? And then
I ask a question, Bradley?
yeah, yeah, go for it.
I am embarrassed to say for how long, ever since I started listening to podcasts over 10 years, like 10 years ago, I just thought they were the most amazing thing. And where have these been all my life? They were still fairly new
Yeah.
then. What are your thoughts now with so many people doing podcasts at such a high level of, I guess, production quality, I think is the word I want, that just starting simply and doing what you said with, just the voice version, not video. Because, once you start adding things, then you complicate it
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
I mean, any of you can get a good mic. You could buy it on Marketplace. You could get it on, you could get a used microphone that might be a $500 mic for $250. And that's all you need to get started, really. The technology now compared to 10 years ago when you started listening is just incredible. Um, so yeah, it's so much easier to do. We have there's a mini course inside the Magic Mind around launching a podcast. It'll literally take you 2 hours. You'll have a podcast live. It's so easy. Um, so yeah, it really is. Cynthia says I read somewhere that the average podcaster quits by episode 7. This is meant to be what we're building here, and we need to just zoom out. This is a many year plan that we're putting into place now. So this year, if we launched an episode a week, we'd have 50 episodes at the end of the year. If we had 50 episodes at the end of the year, you'd probably have several hundred regular listeners to your podcast. Those are not bots. Those are real people who might be interested in what you're selling. Not only that, if you're creating content regularly, podcasts, having conversations, your point of view keeps getting better and better and better and clear and clear and clear. So the people listening come on this journey with you. So I would just suggest you get it started and it's going to evolve as you do. I mean, my Making Magic podcast, it's ancient. It's so old. I don't even know. There's hundreds and hundreds of episodes on there now. Um, because imagine you started today and you fast forward ten years from now, you have hundreds of podcast episodes out there that people will randomly stumble upon just based on search terms that they're looking for.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I've always, fantasized about having one. I think they're amazing,
They are, and it's
but
easy.
then because I also believe, I mean, I like quality and I like listening to ones that have quality in it. And if the sound isn't good and different things, I just shut them off. It doesn't matter how great the content is. So kind of based on that, I think I can do some basic things. And you said at the beginning, so just reading your written work
Yeah.
is what, without no guest interviews or anything at the beginning.
What we're doing right now, this whole process that we're guiding here, this is a podcast episode for me. This is not the highest quality. I'm not even using my great mic. But this is a podcast. I get so many emails from people that consume these little mini snippets that are super grateful that I'm putting this work out for free. But if people want coaching with me, they have to sign up for the community. They have to hire me. They have to sign up for a training. And so you want to you just don't know who's going to stumble across your work because you're putting it out there. And the most important thing that you all just need to get is don't compare yourself to a podcaster that's been doing it for a decade. And just be a beginner, and that's okay. It's all right if your first 10 episodes don't feel awesome. Put them out anyways, because we have to get started. Yeah.
Yeah, these are so great. The conversation in the chat too. So I'll go back and look at that. So yeah, I just, every time it comes up, I just like it calls to me. Like I immediately perk up and it's like so I know that it's supposed to happen. I'm drawn to it in such a strong way. It's just I don't want to get stuck in the weeds with
Yeah.
trying to make it too perfect. So
Well,
I will go and
want
look
it to
at that
fit with your
resource.
lifestyle. So I did a coaching session at the end of last year with somebody who's launching a podcast, and she hated being on the screen. I was like, don't do a podcast on the screen. Go out into the forest and connect a good microphone to your phone, and your podcast listeners will be hearing the sounds of nature wherever you are. And so that's her podcast now, is she's going out into nature with her phone and a good microphone. She's capturing her audio, and then she'll bring it back and she'll do like a basic edit, with the AI editors now. You can do a mastering job with the click of a button, and then you just have a pre-recorded intro and outro, and you add that on, and your podcast is ready to upload. So,
That sparks even more ideas. Yeah.
it's make your podcast fit with your lifestyle. That was why I started recording these sections of the calls for the Magic Mind. Is like, this is the perfect podcast content. Or if you do coaching sessions, you could record the coaching session, keep keep whoever you're coaching anonymous. But if there's a moment of brilliance where you're just like speaking wisdom, you could take that soundbite and turn that into an episode. It's beautiful, it's simple, and it's authentic, and that's what people want. And Cynthia, I saw you shared in the comments, there's like, podcasts are more than just about sharing your point of view. It's also about creating partnerships and relationships with other people that are in the same field. Because if you have an inspiring conversation with somebody that's a guest on your podcast, they're so much more likely to want to like keep engaging with you and figure out ways to collaborate and play. Yeah. So
So thank you so much,
everybody
everyone.
do it. Everybody do it. Okay, so with that, the how are you going to do it? One more question. How many signature workshops are you going to teach this year? What's your number? Let's just pretend it's 20. If it's 20 signature workshops, I would say your realistic number of emails you'll send out pitching your signature workshop to folks and the number you'll actually book might be 10% if you're doing good. So if you send 200 partner emails to host your signature workshop with rightly aligned people, meaning you've done your research, you've chosen a bunch of different hosts that are, in the 10 criteria that you're looking for your signature workshop. If you send 200 emails, you'll probably book roughly 20. That's just kind of going with the math. It is a game of numbers. And so how many do you want to do? And then last is what are some key dates that you need in the next few weeks to anchor in, to start building plans around, to start creating marketing strategies for. So, for example, I know there's going to be probably 2 or 3 get shit done retreats. I'm going to lock that in. The first one's in March, March 13th to the 16th. And then I got to figure out the other dates. I'm doing every one Wednesday a month. I'm teaching a 2.5 hour workshop. So the first one coming up later this month around case studies. That's for the community, but I'll also be selling tickets to people outside of the Magic Mind. So I've locked all of those dates into my calendar. The signature workshop training I'll have locked in for September. And so, what are key dates that you want to get in the calendar in the first weeks of this year for new offerings, new trainings? If you have one of those ideas on a program that you want to launch later this year, lock in a date. Is it April? Is it May? Is it March? And that can help me direct the coaching for you on what do you need to get into place to actually get those things in motion. So, what are key dates? And remember, nothing is in stone, but it is good to have some milestones that are on your map that you're trying to walk towards. And there might come a point where it's like when you're hiking a mountain, there might be a landslide. It's like, oh, you gotta do a detour. And sometimes that happens in life, and that's okay. But at least you have those anchor points of what you're working towards, and then you can set up realistic expectations for that number that you chose of your money goal and the different offerings that you're doing and how many of those offerings you need to sell and how many signature workshops you need to lead in order to build your audience to be big enough to sell the things so you can hit the goal. That's how it works. And that's it. That's the money plan. Those questions should help give you a little bit clearer path of what you need to get into place and the direction that you're going. Now that you can see that number and what needs to get into place, now you have a better idea of what you don't know or what might hold you back or what support you need to ask for when we're doing these coaching sessions and in the community. What new offerings do you need to put into motion starting now? And then that can help to give your day focus and structure and create rhythms and routines because now you're starting to see a bigger picture of where you're trying to get to. That's why having some dollar sign goals, even though it's not about the money, for me, it's always been about freedom and lifestyle and living in a way that feels great. It's why I don't work 12-hour days anymore. I'd much rather work 6-hour days and have more fun. Beautiful. So, may you hit the goal. May you go beyond the goal. And may it be fun. May you find creative ways to align your ideal lifestyle with how you get paid, with your passions, your interests, with the types of people that you want to surround yourself with, both as partnerships, both as the clients who are going to be paying you the money for the things that you're doing, so that your life feels highly enjoyable in work and play day in and day out. That's the goal here, so that you feel lit up and energized, because what the world needs most is not you burnt out trying to get paid. It's you being activated and having fun in your life. And that's what we're all trying to do here, and finding ways to express your creative gifts. And I think that is the end of this little session. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? Any questions? Feel free to state your goal that you have for the year, and then we can do a little witnessing. Today is meant to just be like a starting point to get the journey up the mountain going.